Again, aloha. Thank you for having me. Margie, the team, Ken, mahalo. Christina, Jack, friends, family, and extended ohana, both old and new. Thank you for having me here today. These two monks decided they needed to go to the city. So they left the monastery and they started walking. And they came to this stream that usually is rather a small stream. It's more like a creek. They could just cross it as they willed. But overnight, it rained heavily. And so this creek stream now becomes more like a river. So as they approach the river, they see a woman walking up and down the river, shaking her head and just, looking at it. She's just talking to herself. And so they knew she was distressed about something. So one of the brothers walked up to her and said, "Excuse me, can I help you? Is there something you need?" And she says, "I have to get across the stream, but I'm frightened. It's so rough." And so the brother sat back and he thought about it and he said, "Well, can I carry you? You mind if I carry you across?" And she said, "Oh, that'd be great." And he said, "Okay, get on my back." So he bent over, she jumped on her back, and he carries her. We got Hawaii, hapai. Hapai her across the stream, put her down, and she said, "Oh, mahalo," and she goes on her way. Well, by this time, his companion has already joined them across the river. So they're walking to town, and during the rest of the walk, the journey, this brother acknowledges his companion is a little upset about something. He's mumbling under his breath the whole way, and in Hawaii we call that namu namu. Namu namu. My mother said, "You don't have anything nice to say? Don't say anything at all." But he would namu namu. So after a while, this brother said, "Yeah, we gotta figure this out. Something's wrong." He says, "Brother, what seems to be bothering you? You seem really upset." And so the brother says, when we signed up for this, when we joined the monastery, we both took an oath. And that oath was to be pure, clean, and, not to extend ourselves in this way and not to engage with the opposite gender. And the brother said, "Yeah, we did." But then he says, "Brother, I dropped her off at the stream. You're still carrying her." Yeah, explain that to the next guy. In other words, in that brief story, we're reminded that all too often, we're carrying burdens and never let them go. We never put them down. And sometimes we hold that burden on others with judgment, fear, anxiety. Really, that's in ourselves. So in that story, we have one brother who's looking at his own commitments and acknowledging that sometimes I have to step beyond myself for the benefit of others. Sometimes maybe even compromising some things. But is it the right thing to do? Well, the other brother had to look at the fact that he was carrying this burden of a commitment in his mind and was blind to the benefit to this other person. How many of us can look into our own lives and recognize that all too often we walk around carrying stuff, one room to the next, 1 year to the next, one life to the next, one generation to the next. And sometimes it's not our baggage, it's somebody else's. Not only that, we hold others accountable for it as well. So I think in the message, which I'm trying to resonate and tie to your monthly theme, which I understand this month is elimination, right? Elimination, the notion of releasing or letting go. But I come from a tradition that understands, and I think Margie mentioned it earlier, that the word is powerful. We are the word. What we think, what we feel, what we express and say can become real. So you have to be careful what you say, And Pillai said, the seed of thought watered by the emotion of heart can bring things forward, manifest. So I contemplated it. Thank you, Guy, for sharing the information with me about what the Unity community was doing. And so I said, elimination didn't resonate with me as well, that word, yeah? So I said, in the Hawaiian, Olelo Hawaii, what is that word? What is that concept? And today that would be this notion of ho'okala. Everyone say ho'okala. Mahalo. Ho'okala. Ho'o is to do, to act, to be active. Kala is to forgive. To release, to let go, to acquit, if you would. It's a very powerful concept, this kala. In fact, when you say, you apologize for someone or ask for forgiveness, you say, e kalamai. E kalamai, mai coming from inside, yeah? Let me release from inside. Please forgive me, e kalamai. It's pardon, e kalamai. So we say, e kalamai. E kalamai. Yeah, so excuse me. So that's what. So in the word e kala is this notion of release, let go. So ho'okala is to actively forgive someone else. You know, and I think we've heard many discussions about this notion of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't necessarily for the other guy as much as it is for ourselves, right? Because in forgiving and letting go, I get to drop the chain and the ball and move forward. All too often, though, many of us choose to carry the ball around and hold others accountable for the ball. Yeah? So Auntie Morna Nalamaku Simeona, who was the kupuna and Olohe and teacher for me in Ho'oponopono, she would say this, and I'm going to ask you to repeat it with me. What is it about me, that allows me, to see in you, what bugs me, about you? From the laughter, I think you get it. What is it about me that allows me to see in you what bugs me about you? What does that statement really say? What's my problem? There's something in me, right? That wherever I go, it seems to bring out the worst in everybody else. But we never say it that way. It's usually, you would bug me. You know, and then, interesting enough, we expect them to change for our benefit. And unfortunately, until they change, we're the victim of their beliefs and their behaviors. So in this way, we huli, we shift. And interesting enough, the term huli is also tied to this notion which sounds like kala, which is hala. Hala means to pass, means to die. But hala means time. See? It's not just the passing of the physical, but it's the changing of one mindset, which means sometimes I have to let an old ideal or old idea, an old habit die in order for me to live again. I have to release, but more importantly, I have to replace. We call it pani. We have to close the pot once we open it. Yeah? And all too often, many of us walk around with our wounds that are left open, never pani. When you release, you replace with something of equal or greater value. Because unless it's equal or greater, we are always hungry. We always keep seeking. We're never satisfied with what we think we've replaced it with. Yeah? So in kala, ho'okala, we actively forgive, but we also let go. If you don't let go, you trip over it because you swept it under the carpet. It's still there. We haven't got rid of it yet. So to avoid tripping, we let go. Now there's another term, ho'okala, that's aligned with ho'okala, and it's called kalana. Everyone say kalana. Yeah, kalana is also this notion of forgiving. But lana, because the root word lana there is actually buoyant, float, to be light. Well, interesting enough, when you ho'okala and forgive and let go, you become light. And the word ho'olana means to have hope. Yeah? Hopeful. So until we can forgive and let go of the dark, it's hard to see and enjoy the light of hope. So you have to forgive if you hope to get. Forgive, forget. So this is aloha, to give and receive. Notice I did not say take. Give and receive. So the practice of ho'oponopono is to forgive, to make right, and to correct, with the intention of ho'okala, forgiving, to mihi, let go, to oki, to cut. And these are the principles and values of ho'okala. What I just drew on is the elements, the spirit of Aloha. Not just the Aloha spirit, but the spirit of Aloha. Because the spirit is embedded in the energy of the words we actually use. The mana, if you would. Yeah? The mana, the energy that's in it. So every time you utter the word, what you think and feel, you're going to charge that word. So here's the elements. Everyone say ah. Ah is fire, heat. Like in ahi. It's found in many languages. Ra, la, ata, Yahweh, Allah. Yeah, it's the fire god, heat energy. Lightning touches the ground. Boom, fire starts. We go, ah. And then the ele, the curious part goes, ah. Confirmation. You know, there's the fire, then there's the wind. We see it outside. We call that e. You hear it in the Aloha chant. Aloha, Aloha. I want my Aloha to travel to the wind. And we call a guy across the street, hey! He goes, what? Travels. So you have fire and you have air. These two come together. Engineers, what do you get when you put hot and cold together? E. Rain, water. And that E that falls from and calls vai becomes kai. Makes the big rock a small rock. Ili, ili. Yeah. So every time you utter those sounds of ah, e, you're calling upon the spirits of those elements. And the E falls on the earth, which is called O. Everyone say O. O is the pa, the earth, Mother Earth. It's foundational. And ho'oponopono, it's all foundation. So when you are halulu, walking crooked, you want to get back to something basic, you do ho'oponopono, make it right again. That's the earth. When you want right, correct thoughts, it's mana o. Mana o. It comes from your head, po'o. Sometimes dark, it's po. It comes from your brain called lolo. Now you're thinking of the slow brain, lo. It's all intonation, it's all context. Yeah. So here you have these four elements. Say, everybody say ah, e, ooh. Oh, I skip one, right? Oh, right should the ooh. The last one is ooh. That's you, as in unity. Ooh, the spirit of man. The spirit of man that encompasses all of those other elements. We are those elements. And we have to sometimes let go of these other things that prevent us from being one with those elements and being one with everyone around us, yeah? Ho'okala. So that we can kalana. So we become lokahi. Right, so when I take the elements and we use elements and energy, the spirit of these words, they remind us who we are, where we are, and why we are, yeah? And so in this thought, this time, as you come together again and plan for the future, to lokahi, to unify with the one, to ho'okahi as one, to come together. But you have to ho'okala, forgive, and let go. Anything that may be holding you back. So in the spirit of ho'oponopono, please forgive me and my ancestors for anything that we may have done intentionally or unintentionally, in word, deed, or action, or even inaction, that has created a condition in your lives, in the lives of your families, your communities, that has created the heva, the hurt, the huki, the tension, that requires us to come together today to ho'okala. And in that same spirit, I and my ancestors forgive you and your ancestors for whatever it is that you have done, unconsciously or consciously, intentionally or unintentionally, that has created a timeline and space where we have continued to experience this heva and this huki. Because in the exchange of forgiving one another, we now oki and release the next generation from having to do that battle, so that they can ho'okahi rather than hakaka. Yeah? Ho'okala, forgive and let go. Please join me as I say this prayer in closing. I come forth from the void into light. I am the breath that nurtures life. I am the emptiness, the hollowness beyond all consciousness. The I, the id, the all. I draw my bow of rainbows across the waters, the continuum of minds with matters. I am the incoming and outgoing of breath, the invisible, untouchable breeze, the indefinable atom of creation. I am the I. E pua mai au mai ka pui loka mā lama lama. O au no ka hā ka mauli ola. O au no ka poho ke ka ele mawaho a e oni i ke avau. Ka I ke kino iho nā mea a pau. Ka I au I ku upio a nue nue mawaho au no kai a pau. Ka ho mau mau o manao a me nā mea a pau. O au no ka ho a me ka hā. He huna ka makani nahi nahi. Ka hua o no kumalipo. O au no ka I. E mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Malama pono. Aloha ahui ho a mama ua noa. Mahalo.